All right, man. Where you at? Shout out to the people. We back with another show. Now, as you can see, Mexican woman in Illinois. I believe she worked for the school district in Illinois. And she got caught saying some things about black folks, but then, like I said, we're not surprised. We're not surprised at all. Not surprised at all, man. This is just one of those things that it continues to happen. And I have good morning to everybody, man. Let me say this. Good morning to you all. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far. It's 11:41 a.m. East Coast time, 8:41 a.m. West Coast time. So let's get it, man. Make sure that you guys bless the like button. It ain't nothing. Now, yesterday I had some people who were upset, mainly Mexicans, right? Now, this one Mexican cat left a comment and he said this. I'm gonna read it for you guys. Then this is what he says. This is what this dude said. His name is Luke Roman. This is what Luke Roman said. He said, because when a black man talks about our race, which is very often on YouTube, is not the full truth. He said it's not the full truth. I respond to him and say, okay, I said, can you show me the lies in his live stream? He said, yes, lies about everything comes out of your mouth. Now, I asked him to be specific. Why don't you point out the lies that I told? He couldn't do it. He said, yeah, Red lies about everything that comes out of his mouth. Just put us down, first of all. Why is every other black person talking about us? That's the whole point. When Latino don't talk about black people, we'll say it to your face. Yeah, behind a fake profile at that, huh? Oh, man. Right. But I don't make these things up, man. If you, like I say, you can do your research on everything that I say. Do your research on everything I say. You ain't got to take my word for it. But anyway, man, moving along. Hit the like button. The gang gonna keep going strong. He also, matter of fact, this is what he said. This he said, us Latinos are taking a stand against these black YouTubers. We're tired of black people spreading lies about us. Luke Roman said, us Latinos are taking a stand against these black YouTubers. We are tired of black people spreading lies about us. Well, I challenge you to expose the lies that I told about your people. When I spoke on the East LA firebombers, I showed you the video. When I showed you the LA City Council, who was calling black people monkeys and other derogatory names, I gave you the receipts. Um, the Hawaiian Gardens gang in Hawaiian Gardens, I gave you the receipts. I showed the hate crimes they committed against blacks. They firebombed black people for living in their communities, right? I gave you the receipts. The LULAC organization fought to be legally white. I gave you the receipts for the LULAC organization and how they said Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. I produced I gave you the receipts. So to make a long story short, you can fact check everything I said. I've never spreaded lies about your people. All I did was produce receipts. I gave you the irrefutable facts. So let me say this to you. Your name, Luke Roman. Let me tell you something, Luke Roman. If you can prove me wrong, I challenge you to prove me wrong about anything that I said. Bet money he won't do it because he can't prove me wrong. I think we already know. Now let's get into this clip where you got a woman in Illinois, a Latina school board member, caught saying anti-black things. This right here is in Illinois, right outside of Chicago. You already know.
Aurora, Illinois school board member by the name of Myra. Recently, an East Aurora, Illinois school board member by the name of Myra Reyes from
Yeah, they lie and deny. One of the reasons why you can never have an alliance with Mexicans, they're not honest about their anti-black racism. So you can never be cool with a group of people that's in complete denial about the anti-blackness that comes from their community. You know what I mean? It's rooted in Mexico. I expose the anti-blackness that goes on in Mexico. I expose the anti-blackness in Mexicans in the United States. And I produced the receipt. Everything, when you think about everything I said, I produced all the receipts to prove it. I'm not just making these things up. No, that's not true. They're going to lie. They're going to deny. They're going to deflect.
Recently, an East Aurora, Illinois school board member by the name of Myra Reyes from District 131 came under a lot of scrutiny. In fact, they're asking her to resign because she got caught on a hot mic per se or recording about a year ago, basically talking greasy about black students in the district. Now she, I guess, was interviewing for the vacant.
She got caught talking greasy. But are we really surprised? The only difference is this right here is in Illinois, not California.
Position at the time about a year ago, basically talking greasy about black students in the district. Now she, I guess, was interviewing for the vacant position at the time, and I guess this recording is out, but they're saying they can't really release it because it was behind closed doors. But from what they're saying is she was saying she does not believe that black students should have access to the bilingual services that are offered throughout the district. In fact, that those should be reserved for students who speak Spanish. And it's like, huh? So, of course, she issued a weak apology and it went something like this. Check it out.
It was never my intention to offend or discriminate in any way, shape, or form against any minority group.
The comments community leaders say resurfaced in a recording from a closed session meeting.
And I was so focused on responding to the questions being asked that I failed to respond to this particular question with the sensitivity and care that it warranted.
So, she says it was insensitive and, she should have basically responded to the question differently. It's like, you got caught being racist, right? Now, of course, the black leadership there, including...
She got caught being racist. She got caught saying racist things about blacks in Illinois. And this woman works for the school board in Illinois. She got caught the same way that the LA City Council members got caught talking greasy about black folks. Listen, man, everything I say about these people, I produce the receipts. I'm not making anything up. No, it's not true.
In the NAACP are like, nah.
So focused on responding to the questions being asked that I failed to respond to this particular question with the sensitivity and care that it warranted.
So, she says it was insensitive and, she should have basically responded to the question differently. It's like, you got caught being racist, right? Now, of course, the black leadership there, including the NAACP, are like, nah, she got to resign. The apology is cute, but that's how she thinks, right? So if that's how she thinks and how she talks behind closed doors, what else is she doing to black students that nobody knows about, right? Now, of course, she says she ain't gonna resign. I'm sorry, take it at that. Now, where have we seen something like that before? Los Angeles, California. Y'all remember when the LA City Council there, mostly Hispanics, they were on what you call a hot mic, or they were secretly recorded, if you will, being extremely anti-black, to the tune of them having to resign, because at first they weren't going to resign either. Oh, they're sorry, I shouldn't have and I wouldn't have and all this other stuff. And Nuri Martinez, she was the president, if you will, of the...
She got caught saying racist things. The Mexicans in Illinois got caught saying racist things. The OG Mexican, listen, Sonny said the raza needs to march and stop black people from getting reparations. I showed you Sonny speaking against reparations, sitting at a table full of Mexicans talking about, no, the raza needs to march to stop blacks from getting reparations. It's not fair. Then you got another old Mexican dude calling us mayates. I showed you the video of the OG Mexican from East LA. Oh, yeah, the mayate, da. Sonny gonna march against our reparations. The OG Mexican called us mayate. The other Mexican podcaster called us African booty scratchers. Nuri Martinez from the LA City Council got caught calling black folks monkeys. The Mexican lady in Illinois, Aurora, Illinois, she got caught saying some racist things about black people. What more proof do you need? I bring you the receipts. Mexicans in East LA firebombed black people apartments just for living there. Mexicans in the Hawaiian Gardens area did the same thing. Mexicans in the San Gabriel Valley, Azusa 13 did the same thing. Mexicans in the San Fernando Valley, LA County was attacking random black civilians. Everything I talk about, I give you guys the receipts. I tell you guys no lies. I tell you guys no lies. I always produce the receipts. And you know what they're going to say? No, this is not true. That is AI. That is AI. That's not our people.
I remember when the LA City Council there, mostly Hispanics, they were.
Now imagine Sonny calling me racist, but he told his Mexican people the raza needs to march in heavy protest. So you're going to protest against black folks getting reparations, but you're going to call me the racist? He wanted the whole raza to march in the streets to go against our reparations. And he got the nerve to call somebody a racist. See, it'd be one thing if he said, no, I don't agree with reparations and left it at that. Nah, he said, we're going to get out in the streets and protest and march about it so that y'all black folks don't get nothing.
On what you call a hot mic, or they were secretly recorded, if you will, being extremely anti-black to the tune of them having to resign because at first but that's how she thinks, right? So if that's how she thinks and how she talks behind closed doors, what else is she doing to black students that nobody knows about, right? Now, of course, she says she ain't gonna resign. I'm sorry, take it at that. Now, where have we seen something like that?
No, that's not true.
Before? Los Angeles, California. Y'all remember when the LA City Council there, mostly Hispanics, they were on what you call a hot mic, or they were secretly recorded, if you will, being extremely anti-black to the tune of them having to resign because at first they weren't going to resign either. Oh, they're sorry, I shouldn't have and I wouldn't have and all this other stuff. And Nuri Martinez, she was the president, if you will, of the Los Angeles City Council there. She had to resign. It sounds like she lost her house and all kind of stuff. It was like, well, what do you expect? You're being racist. Right
now, a Mexican cat accused me of being obsessed with them. No, I'm not obsessed. I'm just exposing the anti-blackness, the anti-black racism from your community, because a lot of people have gave a blind eye to this. A lot of people ain't been paying attention. So I'm gonna make it my job to bring it to everybody's attention, right? So clearly we're not obsessed. We have our own culture. Everybody mimics our culture and not yours. What I'm doing is exposing the anti-blackness that's been coming from your community for a very long time. And I think I'm doing a very good job at it. Put a 1 in the chat if you feel like King Supreme is doing a good job at exposing the anti-black racism that comes from the Mexican community.
Let's get back to a black to the tune of them having to resign because at first they weren't going to resign either. Oh, they're sorry, I shouldn't have and I wouldn't have and all this other stuff. And Nuri Martinez, she was the president, if you will, of the Los Angeles City Council there. She had to resign. It sounds like she lost her house and all kind of stuff. It was like, well, what do you expect? You're being racist. Right? Now let's get back to Aurora there in Illinois. Why is there services for students that speak Spanish? And it sounds like they speak Spanish only. So they're, I guess, maybe learning how to speak English. Why is that a thing? Sounds like because they have a lot of illegal immigrants over there, and they're going to use all those resources on them instead of the black students there. Right now, we know, especially in our community, there is this epidemic, if you will, of literacy or the lack thereof. So I think that black students could benefit from whatever services there are, whatever they are, whether.
Shout out to her. Let's go to the next clip. Appreciate you guys. Make sure that you smash that like button. Make sure that the likes add up to the live viewers.
Tonight, community leaders in East Aurora are calling for the resignation of a school board member and...
See, they want to get rid of her. She's a school board member. Now, imagine you got a racist Mexican woman and she works for the school board being racist towards black children, discriminating on black children.
Tonight, community leaders in East Aurora are calling for the resignation of a school board member and, quote, systemic changes in the district to create what they say is needed, a more inclusive environment for all students and staff. An East Aurora school board member publicly apologizing tonight for comments she allegedly made a year ago during an interview for a vacant school board position for District 131.
I deeply apologize for the hurts and frustrations I clearly have caused. It was never my intention to offend or discriminate.
Her name is Myra Reyes. Myra Reyes got caught saying crazy. She got caught talking greasy about black children. And she works for the school district. East Aurora School District 131. These are the people that they hire. And then they get caught talking greasy about us when they think ain't nobody listening.
Tonight for comments she allegedly made a year ago during an interview for a vacant school board position for District 131.
I deeply apologize for the hurt.
Tonight, community leaders in East Aurora are calling for the resignation of a school board member and, quote, systemic changes in the district to create what they say is needed, a more inclusive environment for all students and staff. An East Aurora school board member publicly apologizing tonight for comments she allegedly made a year ago during an interview for a vacant school board position for District 131.
I deeply apologize for the hurts and frustrations I clearly have caused. It was never my intention to offend or discriminate in any way, shape, or form against any minority group.
The comments, community leaders say, resurfaced in a recording from a closed session meeting.
And I was so focused on responding to the questions being asked that I failed to respond to this particular question with the sensitivity and care that it warranted.
ABC 7 has obtained what we're told is audio of those comments, but we are not sharing it because the remarks came during a closed meeting and we do not have the full context.
See, they don't want to play. They don't want to play it because she says some nasty things about black folks, so they don't want to play it.
However, people at tonight's meeting called board those comments, but we are not sharing it.
Sensitivity and care that it warranted.
ABC 7 has obtained what we're told is audio of those comments, but we are not sharing it because the remarks came during a closed meeting and we do not have the full context. However, people at tonight's meeting called board member Myra Reyes' words regarding the district's dual language program insensitive and unfair to black students.
We must be very demanding in making sure that people who represents the community and just not one race is serving.
East Aurora black community leaders say the apology is not enough.
Apology was nice. Unfortunate, it's a year late.
Now they are demanding her resignation as well as changes within the district to allow for a more inclusive environment.
This is not a matter of asking for anything. This is our right. This is our heritage.
We want to continue this discussion and we want to continue to really force her resignation because representation matters and what you say matter for the good of our children.
Following intense public comment at tonight's school board meeting, the district board president saying the road ahead to repair is not easy, but necessary.
It is something that we have to do together as a community to make the district, where every student is able to thrive and staff members feel like they're at home.
The district superintendent responding to allegations of an unwelcome environment within the district, saying in part, quote, improving the climate and culture of our district remains one of my highest priorities. The statement continuing to say, we have been actively analyzing historical trends and community feedback to foster an equitable and respectful environment for every student and staff member. At tonight's meeting, the superintendent said he wanted to continue monthly meetings with community leaders to ensure that all students and staff are supported As for Reyes, she made no indication of resigning based off of her statement tonight.
No, she don't want to resign. She don't want to. Let's show you what the LULAC organization, like, check this out. Now, this is her right here.
I am a school board member for District 131.
How does it feel to be elected to the school board?
It is really exciting.
This is her right here. You got Maya Reyes.
Okay.
It was a dream once in a lifetime, and then it became reality. So it's, I'm on cloud nine.
Okay. You seem ready for it. You seem ready.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I'd like to say so.
Okay. So
For sure, exciting, nerve-wracking. It's just been an amazing experience so far.
great. What are 3 goals you'd like to accomplish as an East Aurora School Board member?
I definitely have a couple, but 3 of them would be enhancing student success. I would like to definitely do as much as I can to ensure that all of our students, the curriculum meets all of our students' needs. Providing support for our educators. I do think that we need to go beyond offering our educators just the typical training to enhance their knowledge.
No, let's go right here. Here's the other clip of, my bad. Check it out. Check it out, fellas.
Growing number of Black community leaders in Aurora say they want a school board member to resign from East Aurora School District 1.
They're still trying to get this woman to resign. Check it out.
Growing number of Black community leaders in Aurora say they want a school board member to resign from East Aurora School District 131. At the center of the controversy is school board member Myra Reyes. Community members say her past comments about the district's dual language program unfairly pit Black and Hispanic students against each other. Audio obtained from her 2024 interview for a vacant board seat allegedly reveals Reyes questioning whether non-Spanish speaking students like African American students should have equal access to bilingual advantages. The DuPage NAACP president reveals Reyes questioning whether non-Spanish speaking students like African American students should have equal access to bilingual advantages. The DuPage NAACP president Michael Childress says a school board member should be pushing equality.
Isn't that what we're supposed to be trying to strive for in this community and in the country? Is that equality should be the basis of everything we do, and as far as pushing one group down so that it sounds like you're anti-equality on all levels.
Yeah, we have the audio too. We did reach out for Reyes to give us a comment on this, but we have not heard back. Community leaders, parents, and staff are expected to attend the East Aurora School Board meeting at 7 tonight to address this very issue.
See? When I show you guys the receipts, make sure that the likes add up to the viewers. And yeah, man, I need you guys to hype my video so we can get this channel cracking.
Allowed to move into.
Now check this out.
About something she said before on.
Now check out Phil Scott. He's here's another Latino woman. This is a Mexican woman exposing the racism that comes from her community. Let's get to it.
African Diaspora News Channel. She identified
Phil Scott
as a Native American woman. Her husband is Black, and she was
she claims to be a Native American. Who knows? Okay.
Referring to what happens a lot of times with some people within the Latino community who has anti-Black racism, and she wanted to address some of that and where some of that's coming from. But let's go ahead and roll that.
Good question, and I'd love to answer it. I'm not talking about Black racism toward Hispanic people, because Black people are not siding with the side of the oppressor. The Hispanic and Latino people that I'm talking about in this video are siding with the white oppressors. They saw somebody like Donald Trump come up in the ranks and do nothing but blast their entire race, and saw that and saw the proximity to acceptance and whiteness in America, and were like, yeah, why are they crossing the border illegally? Knowing some of the places that your families and your ancestors come from and how because of capitalism, because of colonialism. They've been ravaged and corrupted and as literal murder grounds. You know where some of those people are coming from to seek refuge, to become citizens. And you also know, probably, how hard the immigration process is here, especially if you're not from a white country. The first part about this statement is understanding that racism is systemic in this country. There are quite literally levels to this. And if Black people have any racial bias toward Hispanic and Latino people, it's more than likely, historically and systematically going backward, coming from the odd acceptance of Latino and Hispanic people into the country, whilst never admitting the wrongdoings to Black people in this country, how they have built the country up, and how they have never gotten their just dues for literally the blood off their backs. And as fellow minorities, much in the way that Black people might look toward the Asian community or the Middle Eastern community, there might be some spitefulness because no matter how much Black people have put into this country, every other race will get put before them. And white people will use you guys as pawns against the Black people to be like, well, they're doing spitefulness because no matter how much Black people have put into this country, every other race will get put before them. And white people will use you guys as pawns against the Black people to be like, well, they're doing fine. Well, they're doing okay. Look at them. And sorry, no tea, no shade, but a lot of other minorities lift their chins up to that praise from the white people. They start walking a little straighter, holding their head a little higher, and then they start getting uppity toward Black people. And all of this while telling your family members to breathe lighter, reinstating white stereotypes of Black people. They're violent, they're loud, they steal, they're untrustworthy. Meanwhile, you were allowed to move into their neighborhoods, open.
They're allowed to. If Black people are so racist, why do we spend money with foreigners in our community? We can't go to their community and put a business and think they're gonna spend money with us. No way.
Stores in their neighborhood, Black people. And all of this while telling your family members to breathe lighter, reinstating white stereotypes of Black people. They're violent, they're loud, they steal, they're untrustworthy. Meanwhile, you were allowed to move into their neighborhoods, open stores in their neighborhoods, get jobs that they weren't allowed to get. Does the man exploit you and pay you less for those jobs? Absolutely. And that's but most Hispanic and Latino people that have immigrated to this country are chasing that American dream that never really existed for anyone that isn't a straight Christian white person. And you get so tied up in it that you don't realize that you're regurgitating the same racist rhetoric that your white oppressors used against you toward them now. No one has been disrespected like Black people in this country. 9 times out of 10, when Black people don't like a group, it's because of oppression.
Oh, she's keeping it so 100. Black people weren't raised to hate anybody. When we talk about other races, we're holding them accountable for the things they've done. When I talk about Mexicans, I'm just holding them accountable for their anti-Blackness. Let's be real. She broke it down perfectly. Now, for a non-Black person to see this, this is how you know she's being honest about what she sees. Instead of saying, no, it's not true.
Used against you. Hispanic and Latino people that have immigrated to this country are chasing that American dream that never really existed for anyone that isn't a straight Christian white person. And you get so tied up in it that you don't realize that you're regurgitating the same racist rhetoric that your white oppressors used against you toward them now. No one has been disrespected like Black people in this country. 9 times out of 10, when Black people don't like a group, it's because of oppression. That's a lie. There is a fun little beauty in being ethnically and racially ambiguous. And that comes in the form of multiple racial groups thinking that they are in a comfortable zone around you because they think that you are some way relative to them. I have heard white people say the worst I've ever heard behind closed doors because they might have thought I was white. And I have had so many different groups of Hispanic and Latino people in Los Angeles specifically say shit around me because they thought that they were in close company.
Right. They're like, okay, she's Mexican. I can talk greasy about Black folks. Nuri Martinez was around other Mexicans talking greasy about Black folks. The LA City Council members, they got called greasy talking greasies, somebody recorded them. The Mexican woman in Illinois who works for the school board was talking greasy about black people. She didn't realize that somebody was recording her.
Lived in the heart of because they might have thought I was white. And I have had so many different groups of Hispanic and Latino people in Los Angeles specifically say shit around me because they thought that they were in close company. I lived in the heart of Hollywood through Trump's run. And let me tell you something. It was literally vomit-inducing, the amount of Hispanic and Latino people that were in front of the CNN building on Sunset, that were in front of the Vine Tower, that were up on Hollywood Boulevard marching for Trump, guarding his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame because people were breaking it. Some weird lapdog happened with a lot of Hispanic and Latino people in Los Angeles when Trump became president. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys is it's okay. You can say, yeah, these people exist in my group without taking on the brunt of that group. But usually when you take on a broad spectrum statement personally, it means it's inside of you, baby. See, I could look at your comment because you said black.
Shout out to TFan1 for the Cash App. Shout out to Greg for the Cash App. Shout out to Elliot for the Cash App. We got 1,200 people watching. Out of 1,200 people watching, let's get 10 to 15 people to become supporters of the content. Let's get them up. Make sure that those likes add up to the viewers.
And tell that you're probably one of these people I'm talking about. You probably heard your elders talking. You've probably talked with your friends. The blacks started the beef. I'd love to know how. Because that whole gang was going on back in the 80s and 90s. Everyone was involved in that. So let's wipe that out for a second. And let's talk about who's doing shit now. Because despite the fact that black people's music, style, clothing gets taken from them, despite the fact that there's this weird urge, because despite the fact that black people's music, style, clothing gets taken from them, despite the fact that there's this weird urge with Latino people to say the N-word, black people still showed up and rallied for the kids that were in the cages. Black people still showed out and spoke up for Latino and Hispanic people getting called border jumpers, getting told they're from whole countries, getting called rapists and murderers. It was black civil rights leaders, social coordinators, politicians, and Congress people who were rallying for the rights of the DACA children. But time and time again, black people show out for everyone else, and everyone else has a problem showing it back for them. 10 years is a long time, and I had a decade's worth of experience in LA. And like I said before, 80% of that time and time.
If you lived in LA, you're going to see anti-blackness coming from the Mexican community on steroids. Yes.
Again, black people show out for everyone else, and everyone else has a problem showing it back for them. 10 years is a long time, and I had a decade's worth of experience in LA. And like I said before, 80% of that was from y'all.
Part that she talked about, the proximity to whiteness, is really the issue that we have really with other groups that come.
Now, the proximity to whiteness, right after this clip, I'm going to show you a video about how and why Mexicans fought to be legally white. I got a whole video. We're going to break that down. Give me another 5 minutes. I'm going to play a few more minutes of this. Then we're going to get into the clip of Mexicans fighting for white acceptance, fighting for, just fighting for white acceptance, and how they were classified as white, how they fought to be legally white. I'll break that down in another 4 minutes in a dope video.
To America, even immigrants who are black that want this proximity to whiteness. If you see black American people having an issue with somebody, immigrants who are black, really with other.
Was from y'all.
Part that she talked about, the proximity to whiteness, is really the issue that we have really with other groups that come in, to America, even immigrants who are black that want this proximity to whiteness. if you see Black American people having an issue with somebody, it's usually what it is. Because this is kind of how Black Americans are, just as a group. We are very open. We are very welcoming. You know what I'm saying? We love everybody. And that has been to our detriment that we love everybody, but everybody don't love us. But when we see that you siding with the white supremacists against us, are you saying exactly what the white supremacist is saying? And like she said, that when the white supremacists...
They are talking like white supremacists. The Mexican OG himself, Sonny, said that Raza needs to march in heavy protest to stop blacks from getting reparations homes. That's what Sonny said. Another OG Mexican got caught on camera calling us mayates. I did several videos about that. Old man was like, yeah, mayata, mayata. He got caught on video saying it. His own people exposed him. The other Mexican podcaster was calling us African booty scratchers. Nuri Martinez, the LA City Council, was calling us monkeys. Didn't realize somebody was recording her. The Mexican woman in Illinois was calling black people monkeys and all type of names, saying black students don't deserve the same rights as Mexican students. She got caught on audio saying that. Mexicans in East LA was firebombing the homes of black people. Mexicans in the Hawaiian Gardens, Los Angeles County, was attacking black civilians. Mexicans in the Avenues area, Northeast Los Angeles, was attacking black people just for living in their community. I give you guys the receipts each and every time I expose these people.
Just get a little pet on the head and you're like, oh, I feel great. You know, like the little dog wagging his tail because you're getting a little pet on the head and you want to join with them. A lot of times the black people are saying, you know what? Okay, you join with them white supremacists, well, F you too then. I don't want to fool with you either. If you go join with them, that's usually where that comes from. Because when you come into this country, everyone knows the hierarchy in this country. Everybody see it. It's not that hard to find. Black people are treated the worst of the worst. And every group that come in here say, wait a minute, I don't want to be treated like black people. So let me let these white supremacists know, hey, I'm on team white supremacy. Look at me. You understand what I'm saying? And like she said, they have people come in here. They are treated bad. They're not given the jobs they should be given, or they give them low pay. A lot of times they won't say anything about it. They have to keep their mouth shut and go on with it. But when it's time to talk about black people, oh, leave black people alone. And talking about, definitely what she mentioned, that she had lived in California in another video for about 10 years and the things they would say to her. But we know in California, they have that Majorando La Raza stuff. You know what I'm saying? Better in the race.
It ain't just California, Phil, is everywhere. It's in Latin America, it's in Texas. That's the mentality. Mejor la raza. Whiten up the race. Do better. Get with a white person. Stay away from black people. Right?
Better race to what? Even my wife even said that. We had that conversation. Say, what are we supposed to be better in the race to? I'm trying to figure that out. What? She said, I know good and well they're not talking about better in the race and going with the white folks. Why would we do? How is that better in the race? You know, it doesn't make sense. But that's just a bunch of raccoons in their community. And my main thing is this. You know, we don't need to be importing any anti-black racists. I'm a firm believer of that. We don't need to be importing any anti-black. We don't need to be importing any anti-black racists. I'm a firm believer of that. I'm a firm believer. When they start repeating them talking points of the white supremacists, you could easily tell them, wait a minute, you got a whole country literally right there. That's your homeland. If you so much better, why in the world you not there?
It's like you march and protest. You're fighting to legalize border hopping. You're protesting in America while waving a Mexican flag in everybody's face, knowing damn well you don't want to live in Mexico. Knowing damn well you don't want to live in Mexico.
You're not making that be great. You know what I'm saying? Why you coming over here talking about us? I will always say that, because you think that if the African continent was literally right there, that we couldn't do something with it if we wanted to go over there. We don't. The African continent isn't right across the pond now. It's not. It's way over there. And we've been far removed from the African continent for about 500 years or so. So, we've been here that long. We built up America. We innovated America. So we are our own ethnic group now. We so far removed. I mean, it's no particular, I love going to the African continent, but there's no country that has say, hey, let's, make y'all citizens. Let's make y'all, that hasn't happened yet. Until that happened, then we'll have that conversation. But as of now, Black America, they built up this place. This is, home no matter where you go. You are Black American. I know that everywhere I go, and we get the respect for that, when we go different places as well. So, and shout out to, Black America. But one thing that we should not tolerate is we're not tolerating it from the white supremacists. We're not tolerating this from nobody else either. Period. The only time Black folks have an issue with you is when they see you siding with the white supremacists. Then they take an issue with you. But my thing is the anti-Black racism that can come from some people in the
that's when we have an issue with it, man. We're just calling out the anti-Black racism. Let's get some more contributors and supporters. I know we got a lot of hate watchers, right? I know we got a lot of hate watchers, but let's get some more people to show some love. Let's get some more people to show their love and appreciation for this content that I deliver on a daily basis. 1,300 people. Let's get 20 supporters. Let's get 20 supporters. That should be easy out of 1,300 people. Let's get it. Let's get back to it. The game is fluid.
Latino community is that every time Black people get something, you want to, oh yeah, black and brown. Really, you don't want to know black and brown until we delineating from everybody. We don't want nothing to do with nobody.
There is no black and brown because, for one, Mexicans are not honest about the anti-Blackness that comes from their community. They're not even honest about that. So how could you have unity with a group of people that's not even honest about the racism that comes from their culture and community? It's impossible.
Just think about ourselves. There's no coalition with nobody, then everybody cries foul. And I have been noticing that everybody crying foul. It's not just, some people think that it's, some of the brothers and sisters from, different, Black countries saying that. No, it's also others too that's crying foul. They're saying, wait a minute, we just gonna back off. It's not no black and brown anything. You do you, we gonna do us. And that's it. Because every time that we try to reach out to everybody don't want to be a part of us. We watch you literally join the white supremacists. Don't even talk about California. Even in California prisons, they've talked about that many times, how they will join with the white supremacists to fight Black folk. There's no such thing as no black and brown anything. But not because Black people didn't want it, because some Black people still own that. Okay? And yet you cannot, just like y'all talk about today, Pan-Africanism can't be one-sided. Well, black and brown can't be one-sided either. I'll be honest with you, black and brown has been more one-sided than Pan-Africanism has been.
Yeah, black and brown, because I mentioned this the other day. You can't have an alliance with a group of people who fought for white acceptance. Meanwhile, Black people, foundational Black Americans, was fighting to get true equality. We didn't fight to be white. We said, no, we're going to fight so that Black people get equal rights. We didn't say we wanted to be recognized as white people. We fought for the civil rights of not only Black folks, but for people of color and all minorities. That's what we fought for as foundational Black Americans. Mexicans fought to be legally white. Mexicans felt like the only way that they'll be accepted in America is they got to be classified as white. Mexicans didn't feel like they didn't have enough confidence in their movement to say, you know what? We're going to fight so that Mexicans can be treated equal. We're not going to fight to be white. We're going to fight to be treated right as Mexicans, not to be classified as white folks. They didn't do that. They fought to be classified as white folks. They didn't fight so that Mexicans could be seen as human beings. They said, nah, if we fight to be white, then we'll be treated right. Mexicans said, if we fight to be legally white, then we'll be treated right. And that's exactly what their civil rights leaders did.
I had that conversation. Let's get in that conversation. We as Black Americans should not allow no other group to be latching on to us every time we got something going on. Everybody want to latch on to what we got going on, but then don't work with us, don't like us. We talking about the collective. We're not talking about everybody, individuals, because there's individuals that don't feel that way. But we talking about when we look at the collective of a lot of groups, the collective don't rock with us like that. And we haven't done nothing to nobody. What did we do to get those treatments? I keep saying that. We did not take nobody's land. We didn't take nobody's resources. How is it that you don't like Black Americans, those who feel that way? Of course.
Right. Black people didn't take their land. We never took their resources. We never created laws to oppress them. But guess what? The white people did. And guess who Southern California Mexicans aligned themselves with in prison? White supremacists, the same people who oppressed you. The same people who took your land. Huh? The same people that you wanted to be accepted by. You fought for white acceptance. When in reality, you will never be treated like white folks. So when you fought to be classified as white, that was failure. That was defeat. You didn't do it like black people. Fight the power. Fight it. Fight the power. Don't you fight it. Fight the power. No, you didn't fight the power. You fought for acceptance. You wanted the dominant society. You wanted the dominant society to accept you. You wanted the dominant society to embrace you as white people. You didn't fight so that Mexicans could be treated like human beings. You said, no, if we fight to be classified as white, maybe then we'll be treated right. And unfortunately, that's exactly what they did. Look at the LULAC organization. I exposed the LULAC organization several times. John J. Herrera, I believe he was the president of the LULAC organization. He said Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. His words, not my words. Those are his words, not my words. I'm not putting words in his mouth. Alex Tijareta said the same thing. Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. These were the LULAC, that came from the LULAC organization. The LULAC organization is pretty much their civil rights leaders. So if your civil rights leaders are fighting to be legally white, what does that say about the people? You wasn't fighting so that people of color and Mexicans can be recognized as equal human beings. You said, no, we'll fight to be white, and that is how we'll get our equal rights.
Of course. How is it you don't like black Americans when we didn't take
Felix? Yeah, his name was Felix Tijareta. Felix Tijareta and John J. Herrera said Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. These were your LULAC civil rights leaders. Their words, not my words.
All these states that's in the southern part of the United States, southwest part of the United States from you? We didn't, bleed your land full of resources and leaving it destitute. We didn't do any of these things to you as black Americans. But the people that done these things to you, just because they're giving you a job, you love them. I don't understand that. I mean, common sense would say, I can't stand people that took from my people. I can't stand people that, violated my people, misused my people. Why would I love the people that did that to me? That's what doesn't make sense for none of y'all. Just because they giving you a job, really? You betray your own people because them folks gave you a job. Or they let you come to the United States. That's what you betray your people for. And then to side with them, you're going to be against us. And this is why a lot of times brothers and sisters say, yeah, I'm good. We good. We are so good right now. We're going to go ahead on and make sure to celebrate our ethnic group. We're going to make sure to honor our heroes and do the things that we need to do, because every time that we try to be kumbaya, everybody had our arms open. Everybody spit in our face, slapped us in the face, and moved on. Do some individuals, speak up? Sure they do. And if they are individual people speaking up and for the right thing, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. But that's going to be on an individual basis. It's not going to be on just this blind group, coalition, because it doesn't work. It doesn't happen. We can't even get blind coalition without even, black, cousins from overseas. We can't get a blind coalition. Everybody's talking about they different. Everybody ain't them. Okay, cool. Since everybody want to be on this, that's fine. We all can respect each other's ethnic group.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Right? But we ain't done nothing to nobody. We haven't done.
Shout out to Mo Better for the super chat. Shout out to the original for the super chat. Let's get some more you people to bless this show. Some of the hottest game that you're going to get on the internet.
Nothing to nobody to deserve that kind of treatment. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this.
All right, I got another clip. I got another clip that I want to show you guys. I want to share this with you. Excuse me. I want to share this with you.
Actually, it never happened. Let's go ahead and check this out.
My non-black Latinos are going to hate me for saying this.
There's a Latina that's addressing the black and brown coalition that never happened, and she's pointing out why it actually never happened. Let's go ahead and check this out.
My non-black Latinos are going to hate me for saying this, but y'all are the reason that we cannot become truly unified with black people. Y'all are the reason that black people are on the fence about non-black Latinos. It's because y'all are very anti-black and won't even do the bare minimum of just stop saying the N-word. Like, y'all won't even stop saying that word. And y'all don't realize, are going to hate me for saying this, but y'all are the reason that we cannot become truly unified with black people. Y'all are the reason that black people are on the fence about non-black Latinos. It's because y'all are very anti-black and won't even do the bare minimum of just stop saying the N-word. Like, y'all won't even stop saying that word. And y'all don't realize that even though a lot of non-black Latinos see themselves as like socially higher up than black people and black Latinos, that's not how white people see us, y'all. That is not how they see us. It doesn't matter what you are, you're just not white. And a lot of y'all think that perpetuating this anti-blackness and racism is gonna knock you a couple. It doesn't matter what you are, socially higher up than black people and black Latinos. That's not how white people see us, y'all. That is not how they see us. It doesn't matter what you are, you're just not white. And a lot of y'all think that perpetuating this anti-blackness and racism is gonna knock you a couple points higher and it's gonna make you all kumbaya with the white people. No, they don't see y'all as humans.
Now, why is this woman having this conversation? It's one word: delineation. You see, when you stop begging people for things, and when you actually start taking pride in yourself, pride in your community, you become more valuable. When your absence is known, when your presence is not really going to be around too much, you become more valuable. And see, by delineating, we have instantly became more valuable. See, when you're too accessible, when everybody has access to you, then you're not viewed as something that I should appreciate, because
that's true. When you give people too much access to you, they don't appreciate it. They lose appreciation because you're too accessible, right? So anything that becomes common, people won't feel the need to appreciate because they have access. It's kind of like when you have water every day, you feel like water is always going to be available. You're not really going to appreciate it, right? If you deprive people of things and let them know that it's not always going to be at your reach, then they'll begin to appreciate it even more. But I agree with that. Giving people too much access makes them lose appreciation for you and what you have to offer or what you even bring to the table.
Anybody got access to you. But if you think about anything that's worth of value, why? Because maybe certain price points, because you're not going to get to that particular car or home or whatever because of the price point, or you may have certain diamonds at a certain price point or whatever. It's called exclusivity, basically. And so if you get access to that, everybody know, like, oh, okay, you got access to that. So we have literally.
All right, let's go right here. Shout out to Phil Scott. I got another one about the history. This right here is going to go into history. Check this out.
For tonight's program, I want to update your files.
So this is an interesting topic because Mexicans were defined as white by treaty under the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo after the Mexican-American War, because at the time only were defined as white.
For tonight's program, I want to update your files.
So this is an interesting topic because Mexicans were defined as white by treaty under the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo after the Mexican-American War, because at the time only Africans and white people could become citizens of the U.S. So this was just basically implied because the law.
No, not Africans. See, I don't like when they do this. They call white people white, but they want to call us Africans. How come you don't call them Europeans? So you call them white people, even though they're Europeans, but you want to call us Africans. That's crazy. But that's part of the whitewashing. White people said we're going to call them Africans, but we're going to call ourselves white Americans. That's what white people
only
did.
allow those two groups, and Mexicans obviously were not like defined as that, but because they were Guadalupe Hidalgo after the Mexican-American War, because at the time only Africans and white people could become citizens of the U.S. So this was just basically implied because the law only allowed those two groups, and Mexicans obviously were not like defined as that, but because they were going to be given citizenship after the war if they chose to remain on American soil, well, the newly won American soil at the time, instead of going back to Mexico or declaring themselves Mexican citizens, this was implied that they were white by treaty. Following this, there were legal battles. For example, in 1897, there was Rodriguez who was trying to get his citizenship in Texas, but he had to go to court over it because there was opposition to this. At the time, again, they just referenced the fact that only white people and Africans could get citizenship and that he was not from either race. He ended up winning the case. The judge ruled in his favor, citing the 14th Amendment, and that regardless of origin or race, you could obtain American citizenship. But this case served to only reinforce the Treaty of Guadalupe in defining Mexicans as legally white for a lot of legal purposes. And this is just literally defining Mexicans as legally white for a lot of legal purposes. And this is just literally some actual dialogue from 1897 where he was being questioned by the opposition, where they were asking him, do you belong to the Aztec race of Mexico? And he said, no. Do you belong to the race of Spain? And he said, no. What race? And he said, I don't know. So again, this goes all the way back to over a century. But yeah, nowadays this is pretty outdated. There's no need for this to be the case for Mexicans to be legally white, but it's still, or Latinos or Hispanics in general. But it's there, honestly, unless like we change it or we identify something else. Because now you have the ability to. But a lot of times, I used to work for police department. On the reports, we would always default Latinos or Hispanics as being of the white race automatically. And of course, this has the basis on well over a century ago as to why we do that. But nowadays, you have the freedom.
People, if you're typing in the comment section, fall back on the all caps. That's all I'm telling you. Like, don't type in all caps. So, yeah, I appreciate you.
To identify the actual correct race that a lot of Mexicans or Latinos would be, so you could actually identify as American Indian if you'd like, or both, or whatever the hell you want. But now you have that freedom. That's the whole point of that. In the past, this designation was very necessary because times were different, and so it was a victory back then for Mexicans to be defined as legally white because that's the only way they would have rights.
After the Mexican-American War, 1846 through 1848,
see, Mexicans felt like the only way that they can have rights is that they got to classify as white. They didn't have enough confidence in themselves to feel like we could make these white people view us as human beings. But they said, nah, we got to be classified as white if we're going to have any type of rights in this country. And that is why they fought to be legally white.
Mexicans were classified as white after the Mexican-American War.
Back then for Mexicans to be defined as legally white because that's the only way they would have rights.
After the Mexican-American War, 1846 through 1848, Mexicans were classified as white after the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo to make them eligible for U.S. citizenship, which was legally restricted to free white persons at the time. The treaty granted citizenship to Mexicans who stayed in the annexed territories, which was considered a form of naturalization through treaty. However, this legal classification of white did not guarantee social equality or protect against discrimination, and they were often still subject to segregation and violence. To become U.S. citizens, Mexicans were given legal whiteness because the Naturalization Act of 1790 explicitly limited citizenship to white persons. The treaty allowed for Mexicans to become citizens by treaty, effectively making them white by law. This legal status did not translate into social equality. Mexicans faced ongoing discrimination and segregation, with many signs and policies that created a system of segregation. Despite being legally white, their racial identity was often complex and fluid. They were frequently treated as a separate, non-white category, and some were able to pass as white, while others were officially categorized as non-white on the U.S. Census. Additional 525,000 square miles to United States territory, including the land that makes up all or parts of present-day Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. Mexico also gave up all claims to Texas and recognized the Rio Grande River as America's southern boundary. In return, the United States paid Mexico $15 million and agreed to settle all claims of U.S. citizens against Mexico. This agreement, along with the 1853 Gadsden Purchase, created the southern border of the present-day United States.
They sold it. They say white folks stole it, but in reality, they sold it. They say that white folks stole it, but in reality, they sold it. What? The land. You dig what I'm saying?
States. Boundary in return of present-day Arizona U.S. Census. Additional 525,000 square miles of segregation. Despite being legally white, their racial identity was often complex and fluid. They were frequently treated as a separate, non-white category, and some were able to pass as white, while others were officially categorized as non-white on the U.S. Census. Additional 525,000 square miles to United States territory, including the land that makes up all or parts of present-day Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. Mexico also gave up all claims to Texas and recognized the Rio Grande River as America's southern boundary. In return, the United States paid Mexico $15 million and agreed to settle all claims of U.S. citizens against Mexico. This agreement, along with the 1853 Gadsden Purchase, created the southern border of the present-day United States. Mexicans living in the ceded territories were offered U.S. citizenship, though many faced discrimination, loss of land, and political power.
So I tend to get comments like this about how Mexicans were white historically and how they were given access to all kinds of privileges, which is true to an extent. Now, if you're not familiar with our history, Mexicans were considered white on paper since about 1848. Those of Mexican descent were included and excluded historically and how they were given access to all kinds of privileges, which is true to an extent. Now, if you're not familiar with our history, Mexicans were considered white on paper since about 1848. Those of Mexican descent were included and excluded from white institutions or white spaces such as parks, schools, theaters, restrooms, restaurants, pools, etc. But to understand Mexican American history in the 19th and 20th century, you have to understand the complexity of whiteness. So just because Mexicanos and Mexicanas fell under this legal white umbrella doesn't mean they're always viewed as the right kind of white. So what do I mean by that? Well, you have to understand again the complexity of whiteness, and that there is this historical notion that there were many white races in the 19th and early 20th century, with the Anglo-Saxon being at the top, and other white races being seen as inferior, whether, for instance, like the Italians or the Irish. So understanding that there were many white races is something that can help us to make.
Shout out to Student Warrior. I appreciate you. True Warrior Scholar, man. True Warrior Scholar blessed us with a 50 on the Cash App. I appreciate you, True Warrior, for the 50. Shout out to Donald. Shout out to my man Donald Willis. He blessed us with a 20 on the Cash App. Shout out to my girl Tracy. She blessed us with a 20. I appreciate you. And shout out to Yes Sir for blessing us with a 5. We live.
Sense of why, when a Mexican entered a white institution, it could have still been othered, and why it's important to not just fall in line with this simplistic thing that can help us to make sense of why, when a Mexican entered a white institution, they could have still been othered, and why it's important to not just fall in line with this simplistic idea that, hey, well, they were put on the white side of the color line legally, so that means they were seen as white in general. Not true. To understand this idea of...
Well, it don't matter how hard you fight to be white. White people will never truly recognize you as white. Why? Because whites will never give you the same benefits as they get. Whites will never do it. White people just use Mexicans against black people. But whites were never going to give you true equality. You were never going to be considered white like them. You would never have the same opportunities as them, even if you claim to be white. Right? So when Mexicans realized that white people would never treat them the same as them, they said, okay, we'll be people of color and latch on to the civil rights that black people fought for, right? Because black people fought for the civil rights of minorities and all people of color. So that's when Mexicans say, oh, I can get benefits for being people of color. Okay, we don't have to call ourselves white. We can call ourselves brown and latch on to black folks' civil rights. And that's exactly what they did. They latched on to the civil rights that we fought for to benefit themselves. Prior to that, they were just fighting to be legally white. They became people of color once they realized that black people fought for the civil rights of all people of color.
Many white races, I would recommend that you read The History of White People by Dr. Nell Irvin Painter. And I'll leave this video with a small clip from Dr. Painter, who explains it best.
So now we assume that there's one big white race, and it's on a toggle switch. Either you're in it or you're out. That was not the case. That was not earlier the case. So in the 19th century, a thinker like Ralph Waldo Emerson could very easily see that there were several white races. This was commonplace in science. There were several white races. The ones at the top were called Teutonic or Saxon or Anglo-Saxon. Ralph Waldo Emerson thought of himself as a Saxon. And then there were other white races, like the Celtic race.
Well, Mexicans fought to be legally white. Once they realized whites will never accept them for being white, they said, hold on, black people fought for civil rights. Black people made it equal for all people of color. Forget it. We'll just be brown and latch on to the civil rights that black people fought for. See, Mexicans don't even realize that they have civil rights because of us. We fought for the civil rights, not only did Mexicans benefit from the civil rights that foundational black Americans fought for, all minorities and all people of color, all immigrants benefited from the civil rights that foundational black Americans fought for. Keep in mind, when Mexicans were fighting to be legally white, they were only thinking about themselves. They wasn't thinking about people of color. They wasn't thinking about all minorities. Mexicans were only thinking for themselves. They said, if we can be legally white, then we won't be treated like black people. Once they realized white people would never truly accept them, that's when they began to say, we're brown and we're going to latch on to the civil rights that black folks fought for to benefit themselves.
Because remember, Ralph Waldo Emerson lived at the time of heavy, impoverished immigration from Ireland. The Irish immigrants of Emerson's time were very poor, dirty, ignorant people. So therefore, they belonged to an inferior race. And then at the turn of the 20th century, there was the Eastern European Hebrew race. There was the Northern Italian race. There was the Southern Italian race. There were all these white races, many, 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 many white races. And then the non-whites were lumped into big categories like Chinese or Negro. So unless they were in special places like Louisiana, Negro or Chinese was not disaggregated. So poor Catholic Irishmen were definitely white. Poor Italian Neapolitan immigrants were definitely white. They just belonged to inferior white races. That was the thinking in the second half of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century. They were definitely white. They belonged to inferior white races, plural.
In 1930, Mexican was put on the census questionnaire as a race. This was during the Depression, and it was a time period when the government was rounding up people.
Let me tell you something. In 1930, see, Mexicans were they were going to be classified as a race. They were going to classify Mexicans as their own race. You know what the LULAC leader said? Oh no, we want to be legally white. We don't want to be classified as Mexicans. So they said, if we're classified as Mexicans, then we'll be people of color. But this was in the 1930s. They said, oh no, within a year, they said, no, we want to be classified as white. We don't want to be classified as Mexicans. So they fought to say, because look, white people said, okay, well, we'll classify, we'll give you guys, you guys will become your own race. We'll put white in the, we'll put Mexican in the census, and you guys will become your own race. Mexicans said, oh no, we want to be looked at as white. We want to be legally white. We don't want to be classified as Mexican. They fought hard to be classified as white instead of being classified as Mexican. I'm telling you.
Plural.
In 1930, Mexican was put on the census questionnaire as a race. This was during the Depression, and it was a time period when the government was rounding up people. The Mexican repatriation was a series of forced deportations and coercive voluntary departures of approximately 2 million people of Mexican descent, including many U.S. citizens from the United States between 1929 and 1936. Authorities rounded up individuals through raids, public pressure, and threats, even taking people from hospitals. The stated goal was to reduce unemployment by removing Mexicans from the workforce to create American jobs for real Americans, an idea advanced by President Herbert Hoover. Families were separated and people were deprived of their citizenship and property. So people didn't want to be identifiable on the census because they were afraid of the government. Those people who checked white were more identified with this ideology of using whiteness as a strategy, while those who checked other were more identified with anti-racist politics, or they identified more or with immigrants with African Americans. So it wasn't so much color or assimilation, but what strategy they used to combat the discrimination they faced. Some of the lightest people checked other, and some of the darkest people checked white. It wasn't a skin color issue or an assimilation issue. It's a strategic issue. They used the census in the 1940s to locate Japanese Americans for internment camps. Today, everyone wants to be counted. Now everyone wants representation. But at that time period, people did not want that. And they also did not want to be racialized. This was a time where the best avenue for people to fit in was to claim whiteness.
Right. They felt the only way they would have a shot at equal opportunity is they got to claim white. So a lot of Mexicans didn't claim Mexican. They said we are white because they felt like that's the only way they'll be treated fairly is if they pretend to be white. So they marked white in the census. But listen, when you go to Latin America today, you know how many people from Latin America identify as white still to this day? We're talking about the 1930s, but fast forward all the way to today, 2026, a lot of Latinos label themselves white in the census. It's still going on today.
I want to address this comment and unpack Mexicans and whiteness a little further. I want to address this comment and unpack Mexicans and whiteness a little further. And the question that I want to answer in this video is, why would a Mexican who looked like me mark themselves as white in the United States historically? And what did that mean for their relationship with whiteness? So before anything, we have to recognize that whiteness was legally assigned to all Mexicanos and decided for them by elite politicians in the mid-19th century. So as Anglos colonized the Southwest in the mid-1800s, a racial debate took place between elite Mexicanos and Anglos. Were Mexicans white or non-white?
Oh, I got him. This music is gone. I'm gonna have to stop and play it because of that music. Hit the like button.
Essentially, a general agreement that we were more Spanish won out, and with it, the understanding that
they fought to be legally white for the benefits. They felt like that will help them to be accepted in American society. So let's just pretend to be white so we can be classified as white. It was a power move on their part. They felt like that, like being classified as legally white will give them protection. That's exactly how they looked at it.
Mexicans were legally white. Few Spanish won out, and with it, the understanding that Mexicans were legally white.
Patriotism, Anti-Communism American organization formed in Corpus Christi, Texas. LULAC has historically been seen as a relatively conservative ethnic. In 1929, the League of the United Latin American Citizens, a Mexican-American organization formed in Corpus Christi, Texas. LULAC has historically been seen as a relatively conservative ethnic organization due to its early focus on assimilation, patriotism, anti-communism, and non-confrontational tactics, while also pushing for Latino civil rights through legal challenges. One of their main organizing efforts was to get Mexican off the 1930 census. They protested, "We are white race, we are Americans." The Mexican government itself protested the category because the entire Southwest used to be part of Mexico. And when it was taken over by the United States, they promised Mexico that the Mexican residents there would be treated as full citizens. Well, at the time, you had to be white to be a citizen. So that's where the whole issue came about of Mexicans, specifically identifying as legally white but socially not white. It worked against them in some ways because they claimed segregation.
See, right, it worked against them. You claim to be legally white, but at the same time, you didn't get the same rights as white folks. So it backfired in the end. But then they were able to redeem themselves because black people trying to help everybody. Listen, let me say this real quick. Black people trying to help everybody. We didn't realize that they were playing us. And I'm going to tell you how. Make sure you bless the like button. They played us. Well, we played ourselves. When we fought for the civil rights of all people, instead of letting people hold them, instead of people fighting for themselves, what they did was they said we could latch on to the civil rights that black people fought for and benefit off of that. But if black people were smart, we would have said, well, hold on, you fought to be legally white. You didn't fight for minorities and people of color. You didn't care about black people. You said black people could fall off the wayside. We don't care. Felix Tejeda said the black man's problems ain't our problems, and that's cool. So if the black man problems ain't your problems, why would you guys turn around and latch on to the civil rights that we fought for? But foundational black Americans, we made a critical mistake. And what was that critical mistake? We fought for all minorities and all people of color. We fought for the civil rights of people who don't even like us, because these are the same people. When they felt like white people would accept them, they said middle finger to blacks. As long as white folks accept us for being white, we don't care about what happened to black people. They didn't care about us. They were only thinking about themselves when they fought to be legally white.
Mexican residents would be treated as full citizens. Well, at the time, you had to be white to be a citizen. So that's where the whole issue came about of Mexicans, specifically identifying as legally white but socially not white. Socially not white. At the time, you had to be white to be a citizen. So that's where the whole issue came about of Mexicans, specifically identifying as legally white but socially not white. It worked against them in some ways because they claimed segregation and discrimination. The parties being accused of discrimination could say, well, no, you're white. So this history of claiming whiteness has been a strategy that Mexican Americans and other Latino groups have used to try to lobby for acceptance. Claiming Americanness, claiming whiteness. LULAC and the Mexican government successfully had Mexican removed from the census questionnaire. After 1930, there has never been another Latino group listed as a race on it. Claiming whiteness for legal benefits often hindered efforts to fight social racism, as they couldn't claim the same protections as other racial minorities. While claiming whiteness helped with legal standing, it also created tension, as they couldn't easily claim discrimination if legally white, leading some to later fight for.
Right. How you going to talk about discrimination if you're legally white? You're playing both sides of the field. So it helped them in certain ways, but it also, set them back in many ways, because they're saying, how can Mexicans talk about discrimination when you're legally white? That is a clear contradiction. Either you're going to be people of color or you're going to be white. You got to pick a side. You can't play both sides of the field. And like I say, Mexican brown people were able to play both sides of the field. They was white when that was beneficial. And then when whites never accepted them, they said we'll latch on to the civil rights that black people fought for, because black people fought for all minorities and all people of color. So when they realized that being white wouldn't work, They latched on to the minority people of color thing because the civil rights that we fought for protected them and all minorities and all immigrants. Unfortunately, that's the reality.
Recognition as a Latino group listed as a race on it, claiming whiteness for legal benefit, claiming whiteness. LULAC and the Mexican government successfully had Mexican removed from the census questionnaire. After 1930, there has never been another Latino group listed as a race on it, claiming whiteness for legal benefits often hindered efforts to fight social racism, as they couldn't claim the same protections as other racial minorities. While claiming whiteness helped with legal standing, it also created tension, as they couldn't easily claim discrimination if legally white, leading some to later fight for recognition as a distinct racial group, Hispanic, to address real social discrimination. In 1970, the Hispanic origin question was first introduced on the census long form. This strategy was a complex, evolving response to American racial politics, aiming for inclusion while navigating a system that often denied them full equality, ultimately contributing to the later push for a distinct Hispanic identity. For the haters still chewing on crayons, pay attention.
Nobody forced whiteness on Mexicans. This is a comment right here.
Crayons, pay attention.
Nobody forced whiteness on Mexicans. This is a comment right here that I tend to get that we need to break down further in nuance. When it comes to Mexicanos and historical whiteness, perspectives like this do not consider how Mexicans tried to exist outside of the American racial order, but were forced to uphold whiteness. A few examples serve this point. The 1910 Francisco Flores miscegenation case, the 1914 Maestas case, and the 1947 Carla Garza case. So in 1910, Francisco Flores married a black woman named Ellen Dukes in Texas. The local sheriff ended up arresting Francisco, and he was sentenced to 2 years for unlawfully marrying a Negro. Fast forward to 1914 in Alamosa, Colorado, where Mexican parents filed a lawsuit against the school district for segregating their children into a Mexican school. In this lawsuit, they tried arguing that they were a racially distinct group as Mexicans who were being discriminated against. To counter this, it was the school district who argued that Mexicans were Caucasians, meaning they could never be discriminated against. And the last example takes place in 1947 in Washington, D.C., when Carla Garza attempted enrolling into a black school for a dressmaking course. After learning that Carla was Mexican, white and black education board members voted to prohibit Carla from attending the black school on the basis that she was legally white. So, when some Mexicans tried to operate outside of whiteness, they were pigeonholed into a legal white identity. Now, were there some Mexicans that internalized and upheld white supremacy? Yes. But the historical relation is that she was legally white. So, when some Mexicans tried to operate outside of whiteness, they were pigeonholed into a legal white identity. Now, were there some Mexicans that internalized and upheld white supremacy? Yes. But the historical...
Of course, a lot of Mexicans internalized and upheld white supremacy. Of course, a lot of them did. Study the history. I didn't say that because I wanted to talk crap. I said it because it was true.
Black education board members voted to prohibit Carla from attending the black school on the basis that she was legally white. So, when some Mexicans tried to operate outside of whiteness, they were pigeonholed into a legal white identity. Now, were there some Mexicans that internalized and upheld white supremacy? Yes. But the historical relationship between many Mexicanos and whiteness was at times imposed on us without choice.
So basically, he's saying we were forced to be legally white. No, you had a choice. You had a choice. You felt like it would be beneficial to be white, and that's exactly what you did. You felt it would be beneficial to be white, and you said, well, as long as we can be white, then that'll bring justice to our people. Check this out.
Like to support.
I played this several times. These are your LULAC organization leaders right here. I played this several times. Check this out.
Correct. You can also deal with that conversation when it deals.
I'm gonna show you what the LULAC. Of course, a lot of Mexicans upheld white supremacy. Of course, they upheld white supremacy because they felt like being legally white will give them better opportunities. When Mexicans felt like they were accepted by whites, they said, "The hell with black people. Let black people fight for themselves. We're going to be classified as white, and they said we're going to be classified as white, and therefore we'll be all right. Let the black man fend for themselves. I don't feel that the black man should get the same opportunities that we get as Mexicans." These are not my words. These are the words of the LULAC organization leaders who were Mexican American.
Those are the police, right? Correct. But I'm also going to bring up.
And then old boy said, well, we didn't have a choice. We had to become legally white. We didn't have a choice. Oh, you had a choice. You had a choice. You felt that being white would give you more opportunities. So that's exactly what you did. And once you realize that you will never be accepted, this is what Mexicans realized. They realized that they were white on paper, but socially they were never accepted or embraced in a white community. And once they realized that they were never socially accepted and they was only legally white on paper, that's when they said, we'll become people of color and latch on to the civil rights that foundational Black Americans was fighting for, because the civil rights that we fought for put them in a better position. The civil rights that we fought for gave them protection. That is an accurate and true statement. Realer than rap, no cap.
This one thing as well. Dr. Hector Garcia was a physician, military veteran, and advocate.
Now, right here. These are the LULAC organization leaders. I want y'all to hear what these LULAC organization leaders said about black folks, talking greasy about black folks.
But I'm also going to bring up this one thing as well. Dr. Hector Garcia was a physician, military veteran, and advocate for the rights of Mexican Americans. Quote, we are not and have never been a civil rights organization personally. I hate the word. Hector Garcia, founder of the American GI Forum.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
By the early 1950s, the American GI Forum, while still denying that it was a civil rights organization, sought to end discrimination in Texas schools, in employment, and in the use of public spaces. The core strategy depended on educating Anglos that Americans of Spanish-speaking descent or Latin Americans were Caucasian, and that to identify them as anything but white, whether on birth certificates or traffic citations, was illegal. Making any distinction between Latin Americans and whites, he wrote, was a slur, an insult to all Latin Americans of Spanish descent.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
John James Herrera was an American attorney, activist, and leader in the Chicano movement. Quote, Latin Americans of Mexican descent belong to the Caucasian race and are therefore.
Now these are the LULAC leaders. Check it out.
Americans of Spanish descent.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
John James Herrera was an American attorney, activist, and leader in the Chicano movement. Quote, Latin Americans of Mexican descent belong to the Caucasian race and are therefore white. John J. Herrera, LULAC president, 1952.
This was the LULAC organization president. He said Latin Americans of Mexican descent belong to the Caucasian race and are therefore white. John J. Herrera, LULAC president in 1952. So the president of the LULAC organization, which was a Mexican American, said that Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. This was in 1952. He was the president of the LULAC organization. So when I tell you they fought to be legally white, I am giving you the receipts. I am giving you the irrefutable facts.
Leader in the Chicano.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
John James Herrera was an American attorney, activist, and leader in the Chicano movement. Quote, Latin Americans of Mexican descent belong to the Caucasian race and are therefore white. John J. Herrera, LULAC President, 1952. John James Herrera joined the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, in 1933 and began practicing law in Houston, Texas in 1943. During World War II, he was involved in the movement to end employment discrimination against Mexican Americans in Houston shipyards. In 1948, he joined the legal team that brought the school discrimination case of Minerva Delgado against the Bastrop Independent School District to the Texas Supreme Court. The ruling declared educational segregation of Mexican American students illegal in Texas.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
Felix Tijerina, 1905 to 1965, was a Mexican American restaurateur, activist, and a philanthropist in Houston, Texas. He served as the 25th.
So he was Felix Tijerina was the Mexican American president of LULAC from 1956 to 1960. Now, John J. Herrera was the president in 1952 of the LULAC organization. 1956, Felix Tijerina became the president of the LULAC organization. And I want you to hear what Felix Tijerina said about black folks once he became the president of the LULAC organization.
They not like us. They not like us.
Felix Tijerina, 1905 to 1965, was a Mexican American restaurateur, activist, and a philanthropist in Houston, Texas. He served as the 25th president of the League of United Latin American Citizens. Quote, let the Negro fight his own battles. His problems are not mine. I don't want to ally with them. Felix Tijerina stated that his mission was to help Mexican Americans merge into the American mainstream as successfully as he had, and that early Mexican restaurants like Felix's were among the first institutions where urban Anglos and Hispanics rubbed elbows. Tijerina's Americanized version of Mexican cooking was what brought the races together, and it was a triumph of diplomacy. Walsh also added that Tijerina's style of cooking was not about bringing authentic Mexican flavors to Texas. It was about putting Anglos at ease with things Mexican.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
Gustavo Gus C. Garcia, July 27, 1915, June 3, 1964, was an American civil rights attorney. Garcia worked with fellow attorney Carlos Cadena in the landmark case Hernandez versus Texas, 1954, arguing before the United States Supreme Court for the end of a practice of systematic exclusion of Hispanics from jury service in Jackson County, Texas. Gustavo stated this: I know Negroes aren't getting their full share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, and I do not believe that they are entitled to everything that we get.
At least he was honest. He said, I am prejudiced against Negroes and do not believe that they are entitled to everything we get. Gus Garcia, Mexican American civil rights attorney. So when it comes to Mexicans, and these are Mexicans from Texas, keep in mind, the LULAC organization started in Texas. These are Mexicans from Texas. They were very anti-black. The LULAC organization was anti-black from its inception. From day one, they've been anti-black. And they're telling you, we don't want nothing to do with the Negroes. But once they failed, once they, once they failed at being white, they say, you know what, we're going to bow down and become people of color to latch on to the civil rights that black people fought for. The whole time they gave us the middle finger, saying, nah, Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. We don't want you Negroes to have nothing to do with the rights we get.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
Gustavo Gus C. Garcia, July 27, 1915, June 3, 1964, was an American civil rights attorney. Garcia worked with fellow attorney Carlos Cadena in the landmark case Hernandez versus Texas, 1954, arguing before the United States Supreme Court for the end of a practice of systematic exclusion of Hispanics from jury service in Jackson County, Texas. Gustavo stated this: I know Negroes aren't getting their full share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, and I do not believe that they are entitled to everything that we get. Garcia served as legal advisor to the League of United Latin American Citizens from 1939 to the 1940s. He was elected to the San Antonio Independent School District Board of Education in April of 1948, but later resigned. He helped revise the LULAC Constitution to permit non-Mexican Americans to become members in 1949. In that year, he also served as a lawyer to the family of Felix Longoria and helped contract negotiations for the rights of workers in the United States Mexico Barcero program. On May 8, 1950, Garcia and George I. Sanchez appeared before the State Board of Education to seek desegregation enforcement.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
A lot of Hispanic and Latino parents will literally try to teach you at a young age to not be friends with black people. A lot of Hispanic and
for the State Board of Education.
Us. They not like us. They not like us.
A lot of Hispanic and Latino parents will literally try to teach you at a young age to not be friends with black people. And it's disgusting. They show you racism, anti-blackness, like colorism at a young age. You could be a dark-skinned Latino and yet you will get a lot of hate. Not only that, media will even show that too, where literally they show that white Latinos are literally rich, smart, educated, and they're always holy. But when it comes to black people or Afro-Latinos, they're ghetto, they're poor, uneducated, and they're criminals. And not only that, a lot of these celebrities believe this too. And also, they do blackface. And that's why a lot of people don't want to unionize when it comes to the Hispanic and Latino community, because of the amount of fucking anti-blackness, the racism towards black people. And not only that, y'all forget that literally black people have influenced our community so much, from technology, from food, to even music. And some of y'all be dancing to those music that literally were influenced by black people.
What does civil rights mean to you? So given
excuse me. I told you, black people influence a lot of foods, dances, music, and culture in Latin America. I've been telling you that. But you know what Mexicans said? No, that's not true. No, a lot of dishes in Mexico come from black people. A lot of the Africans brought a lot of those dishes, a lot of spices, a lot of drinks, a lot of foods in Mexican. A lot of foods in Mexico was heavily influenced by the Africans who came there. That is a fact. The music they listen to, the dance rhythms in Latin America comes from black folks. But see, the Spanish conquistadors taught them how to hate us while loving them. The Spanish conquistadors taught Latinos and Hispanics, they were taught how to love white people, but to hate black folks. Love everything white and discriminate on everything black, because Mexico was whitewashed by the Spanish conquistadors. Latinos in general, Latinos in Latin America, I don't care what country you go to Dominican Republic, Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia, Venezuela, they've been whitewashed. They've been taught to have they've been taught to hate and have disdain for black folks while loving everything white. Discriminate on everything black while loving everything white. And who took you guys' land? White folks. Who took your culture? Who stripped you of your spiritual beliefs? The white Spanish conquistadors. The white folks robbed you of everything, took everything from you, but all of your hatred is for black folks? That's crazy. But when you get whitewashed by Spanish conquistadors, they have taught you guys to love the white man while disliking the black man. discriminate on everything black while loving everything white. And unfortunately, many Latinos have this mindset. Why? Because they've been whitewashed by the Spanish conquistadors.
The work that you've done on the marker, the fact that you're part of Latina, and all the things that you've been a part of. What does civil rights mean to you?
They followed their daddy's instructions. Shout out to Big E. Let's go to the next clip. You know what I mean? The whitewashing of Mexico. And I told Sonny this. Sonny tried to make it seem like blacks were the only ones, right? That what'd he say?
Amandi is joining the conversation, and back with me is the amazing Laz Alonso and Felice Leon. So I want to pick up where I left off with you, Laz, about the Latino experience at an HBCU. You're a proud Bison graduate of Howard University. Talk to me about your experience there and why you chose Howard.
You know, I'll tell you, at Howard is where I actually became truly rooted in my blackness. Growing up, at home I was always Latino. And when I'd step foot outside my house, I would be an African-American man in America, dealing with everything, you know, African-American men have to deal with when they walk out the house. But at Howard was where I truly learned that we are a diaspora around the world. And I learned how similar we as black people are, regardless of whether you're in Jamaica, the Virgin Islands, Cuba, Haiti. We are all one big plethora of blackness that go back to our roots, which is Africa. And so for me, it was less about being Latino at Howard and more about being Afro at Howard and realizing how similar we are regardless of where the ship may have ended up and placed our relatives.
Did you ever feel like you had to choose between your identities at Howard? Were you
Shout out to the Lions Dollars for the super chat. I appreciate you, Lions Dollars. He said, congrats on 1,400 viewers. I appreciate you, Lions Dollars, for being a real supporter. Shout out to my girl, Bridget, for the Cash App as well. Lions Dollars sent us a 10. Bridget sent us a 10. And shout out to Evelyn. Evelyn blessed us with a 17 on the Cash App. Shout out to all of my contributors and supporters. They are talking about the anti-blackness that comes from Latin America. Now, this dude right here said, you know, he realized that he was black. He just, I don't know if he's Cuban or something like that, but he's black. But he recognized that he's black. He just said that culturally, his family, they're Latinos, but when it boils down to it, he's still a black man. And he recognized that. So he's not running around saying, no, me no black. He's not running around saying that.
It's where I actually became truly rooted.
about your experience there and why you chose Howard?
You know, I'll tell you, at Howard is where I actually became truly rooted in my blackness. Growing up, at home I was always Latino. And when I'd step foot outside my house, I would be an African-American man in America, dealing with everything, you know, African-American men have to deal with when they walk out the house. But at Howard was where I truly learned that we are a diaspora around the world. And I learned how similar we as black people are, regardless of whether you're in Jamaica, the Virgin Islands, Cuba, Haiti. We are all one big plethora of blackness that go back to our roots, which is Africa. And so for me, it was less about being Latino at Howard and more about being Afro at Howard and realizing how similar we are, regardless of where the ship may have ended up and placed our relatives.
Did you ever feel like you had to choose between your identities at Howard? Were people saying, hey, are you black or Latino? Did you have to explain your lineage to a lot of people there?
I've only had to explain it to Latinos because Latinos would ask me, well, why do you say that you're black? Or why do you say you're black first and Latino second? And I always remind them, say the word. It's Afro-Latino. What comes first? Afro, right? It's because that's the race. That's the DNA. Latino is a culture. It's not a race. So when I say that I'm black, I am black in Cuba.
Say it again, my brother. Latino is a culture. It's not a race, but being black is a race. Being a Negro is a race. Shout out to this brother for being educated.
So when I say that I'm black, I am black in Cuba. I am black in America. I say that I'm black. Latino is a culture. It's not a race. The race. That's the DNA. Latino is a culture. It's not a race. So when I say that I'm black, I am black in Cuba. I am black in America. I am black in China. Wherever I go, I'm black first. My Latinidad, which I embrace equally, that's my culture. And they're not mutually exclusive. But if you do a DNA test, what is it going to tell you? What percentage African I am? So that explanation is what I've had to do so that people understand that I'm not choosing one over the other, but I'm speaking about the nuance of what it is to be black, regardless of what comes after the Afro.
Right. That's a really good point that he makes, Fernand, about what comes first. But we were talking about anti-blackness within the Latino community. Fernand, talk to me about why that exists in the Latino community.
Well, I mean, as Laz pointed out, there is an increasing number of Afro-Latinos. We're seeing them grow in terms of the population. And what I think is happening, Tiffany, this is a remarkable moment in American history, but for the political consequences as well. I will never forget the day of watching President Obama. His first nomination to the Supreme Court could have been anybody. A lot of folks in the different communities thought it was going to be there, and he nominated Sonia Sotomayor, which proved to be a brilliant choice, but also spoke to the coalition of blacks, African Americans, and Hispanics into the future. This is the largest segment of American society in the electorate going forward, and these two communities, despite the fact that there's been a lot of talk that there's been tension in the past, if they can find common cause, and they do on a lot of these issues, they will be the political force in the United States of the 21st century.
That's a really good point. And Felice, I want to get your take on this as a journalist, because there are tensions in the community sometimes, and there are people who feel certain pockets of the Latino community want to be white adjacent and therefore benefit from a certain privilege and join the supremacists, so to speak, and look down on people with black skin. What's a way that candidates can navigate that and really reject the anti-black sentiment and embrace the Latino vote and go after the Latino vote at large?
So I think that they first have to have an understanding of the history, right? Context is always very important. And taking a look at the fact that privilege, so these conversations are actually real. So the fact that there is a system, there's pigmentocracy in, Latin America that privileges whiteness and, you're sort of at the bottom if you're black or indigenous, that's very real. So you have to approach that with the understanding that this is what has happened for centuries in these various countries, and you have to beyond the fact that you make yourself aware. You have to surround yourself with people who know the context as well, who are able to really speak to the larger issues, right? And so I'm not talking about a superficial level. I'm talking about people who are in the communities who know. Who have lived experiences, who perhaps have done research, who have been, gone to Cuba, who do, et cetera. And people really resonate with that authenticity, with the idea that this politician is not just trying to blow steam up our behinds. This politician is real, and they're doing the work. That's what we want to see. Politicians who do the work.
Right. All right, this has been an amazing panel. I have to run and get an outfit to wear to Laz Alonso's family's cookout.
Live Alonso, he's a rider, man. He said blacks should get reparations. Shout out to Alonso. He's a rider, man. I've been watching him for a minute. I used to see him in movies back in the day, and I just thought he was black. But then he said he's an Afro-Cuban, but he always claims black first. He said black folks deserve reparations. He's all for reparations. So he's a rider, man. I rock with bro. Shout out to Alonzo, man. Let's go to the LULAC organization claiming that somehow, black men are the... I want y'all to hear it for yourself. I ain't gonna give you a commentary.
Do y'all remember when Asians used black Americans as boogeymen?
I want y'all to hear this. Shout out to this sister from the African Diaspora News, man. Shout out to her. She's from Los Angeles. Much love to this sister. Let's get to the content, right? Shout out to my girl. Hey, man. Hey, shout out to the homegirl on the Philip Scott African diaspora news. This is our LA homegirls. This is our California sister. She been putting in a whole lot of work, standing up for the people. I appreciate you. Right?
Do y'all remember when Asians used Black Americans as the boogeyman to get that Asian hate crime bill? Y'all saw it where they showed all these videos of Black people all over the United States attacking Asians as though it was just us, right? And then shortly after that, under the Biden administration, they got an Asian hate crime bill. Y'all remember? Okay. Well, something tells me that the Latinos are going to use the same playbook. I happened upon a video from LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens, right? Now, it is their oldest civil rights organization. Now, I want y'all to watch this video and come on back.
Men are posing as ICE officers to assault and rape Latinas. Here's what we know. In Brooklyn, a man told a 51-year-old Latina woman he was an ICE agent. He led her to a stairwell, tried to rape her, beat her, and stole her phone and purse. In North Carolina, a man pretended to be an ICE agent and threatened to deport a woman if she didn't have sex with him. Please stay safe. Try to travel in groups when you can and carry legal self-defense tools like pepper spray, bear mace, or a personal alarm. But always check your state's laws to make sure what you're legally allowed to carry, since this varies by state.
So as you saw there, they said that there are men running around pretending to be ICE agents, and they are snatching up, or trying to anyway, Latinas and doing horrible things to them. And that is wrong. And if anybody is doing that, they should pay to the fullest extent of the law. That being said, did y'all notice who they used to illustrate that these Latino women are being snatched up and all kind of stuff? It was Black men. Now, again, if those Black men are doing that, they should pay. But is it just Black men that are doing that? No, it's not. We know that there's a whole host of people pretending to be ICE agents and trying to do things they shouldn't be doing to them, okay? But why is it that they use not one Black man, but two Black men? And throughout the whole video, it was longer, I didn't see them list nobody else but Black men. Was that done on purpose? Is it just Black men? And you know it's not just Black men that's doing that, but why would LULAC do that? We know why they would do that, because they want to put the signal out there that Black people are a danger to us, and they're using these opportunities to harm us. And it's wrong that they're trying to paint that picture of Black Americans like the Asians did. Yes, there's some Black Americans that's doing that, but it's not just Black Americans. And if you think that I'm lying about their intent, I'm going to read y'all a couple of comments that was left under that video. And one goes like this. The Blacks are at it again. And if you see the last name, it's Villa, right? That's a Latino name. Now, the other one says, always Blacks, all the time. Really? So as y'all saw there, that was the intended effect of that video, to highlight that it's the Black men that are doing this to the Latinas. It was to stoke fear that, oh, Black people are the enemy and nobody else is doing it. Why are y'all doing that, LULAC? You ain't slick. That playbook has been used before.
But this is LULAC. I told you, LULAC is, they represent Mexicans, man. And I told you, LULAC, their civil rights leaders are anti-Black. So they're going to indoctrinate their people with the same nonsense. This is the LULAC organization putting out this propaganda against Black folks.
Nobody else is doing it. Why are y'all doing that, LULAC? You ain't slick. That playbook has been used before. And again, it's wrong that those brothers, or I should say so-called brothers, are doing that. But why didn't you highlight the Latinos that are doing it? Because there's a lot of Latinos that are posing as ICE agents, and they're doing it too. Why didn't you highlight the white men that are doing it, or anybody else that's doing it? Because you think you slick. You are also trying to do what the Asians have done and use Black people as the enemy, when you know doggone well the enemy ain't us. The enemy is the same enemy that's of all of us, and that's white supremacy, right? So yeah, I thought that I should let y'all know that LULAC is at it again. As they say, if the blacks are at it again. And we know that LULAC does not like black people. Now, they went out and did something that was rare, that was never done before. Last year when Kamala was running, that organization endorsed Kamala. Now remember, that had never been done before in their whole entire existence. But you know why they did it? Because they saw Kamala was going to let them all come in illegally and everything. Come on and get all you could get. So they endorsed her. Again, never been done before. But if you go back into history, their founders and presidents and all kind of stuff said, we ain't trying to hang out with black people. We don't want to align with them. Let the Negro fight their own battles, right? They've said that stuff, and here they are trying to lie and make this narrative that it's the black men that are a danger to Latinas. Those black men that you highlighted are a danger to Latinas, but not all black men are a danger to Latinas. And black people, y'all remember that when they talk about where y'all at and why y'all ain't out there helping them, because we not. Because we see the stuff that you do. You're trying to get something off of the backs of black Americans and accuse us of doing something to y'all that we are all not doing. So anyway, don't y'all forget. And let me know what y'all think.
All right, man. Shout out to Miss K, man. Let's go over here to Ohio. I'm gonna do a whole stream about ICE raids in Ohio, I believe tomorrow. Check this out.
Made 10 arrests in central Ohio. It's part of what ICE is calling Operation Buckeye. It's good to have you with us for.
Yeah, I told you the LULAC organization are full. They're full of it. Mexican civil rights leaders have never been aligned with us. Their civil rights leaders are very anti-black. Our civil rights leaders have never been anti-Mexican. That's the major difference.
For 10 TV News at midnight, I'm Colin Dorsey. This as communities across the city have gathered for demonstrations opposing ICE's presence in central Ohio. This latest demonstration happening in Westerville this afternoon. 10 TV's Kristen McFarland talking with people there who got together expressing their concerns.
Demonstrators packed a skate park in Westerville Sunday afternoon, saying they are standing in solidarity against recent immigration enforcement efforts.
It's very unexpected, it's very inhumane, and it's not right.
The rally started with community leaders speaking out about recent ICE activity in Columbus. From there, the crowd marched down Park Meadow Road, chanting and holding signs reading ICE out of Columbus.
But the support and the love gives me so much inspiration and so much hope.
Now, this is Ohio right here. You know, you got a Latin community in Ohio. And just check
still grateful that we can come together and protest peacefully and ideally be able to push for a change.
Earlier this week, an ICE spokesperson said agents are in Columbus to support public safety and enforce federal immigration laws. Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther also responded to the recent enforcement actions.
While some may say they're here to make Columbus safer, the fact is Columbus is already safe.
No, the immigrants need to go. You want to protect immigrants instead of protecting the American citizens. You're full of it, and everybody knows it.
We have not asked for and do not need this unwelcome intervention.
Around the same time, Senator Bernie Moreno weighed in on the ICE activity.
There's certainly people with active deportation orders. This is not about targeting different groups of people. I myself am Hispanic. I was born in Colombia, South America. I came to the U.S. legally. I followed the process, became a U.S. citizen. This is not about anybody who's followed the rules. This is about people who broke into our country illegally, skipped the line, and are taking advantage of this.
Say it again. This is about people who came into our country illegally. We're talking about border hoppers. What is a border hopper? Somebody who comes to America illegally. That is a border hopper.
Broke into our country illegally. This is not about anybody who's followed the rules. This is about people who broke into our country illegally, skipped the line, and are taking advantage of this country. And ICE is doing their job.
City leaders say the Columbus Division of Police will not investigate residents solely based on immigration status. Reporting in Westerville, Kristen McFarland, 10 TV News.
And along with the most recent number of arrests on the department's website, ICE Director Todd Lyons added a statement saying,
And what's crazy is they know they came over here illegally. They came over here illegally, but then they want to cry racism when we enforce our immigration policies. You hopped the border, you came illegally. By definition, you are a border hopper if you come to our country illegally. By definition, you are a border hopper. Go to Mexico right now. Mexico has deported so many Central Americans, it is crazy. They deported so many Central and South Americans. Mexico is enforcing their immigration policies 100%, but Mexicans got the nerve to cry racism when the United States of America practice and when let me put it like this: when the United States of America enforces our immigration policy, somehow it is considered racism from Mexicans. When Mexico has deported so many people, we're talking about other people who speak Spanish. We're talking about Guatemalans, El Salvadorians, Hondurans. You know what I mean? People from Panama, Venezuela, Colombia. Mexicans have deported people who speak the same language as them. And you don't see Mexicans calling Mexico racist for enforcing their immigration policies. But they want to say that the United States of America is somehow racist for enforcing our immigration policies. They cross the border illegally and they feel like they should be able to do it, and nobody should have anything to say about them crossing the border illegally. We come in here hard, we work. I don't care about I don't care about your job. If you cross the border illegally, by definition, you are a border hopper, a border jumper. That's exactly what you are by definition. That ain't racism. I'm giving you the facts. I'm giving you the reality check. The United States of America has every right to enforce their immigration policies. We have every right to deport these border hoppers. We have every right to deport people who came over here illegally. Listen, you guys, man, we're going to wrap this show up. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. It's crazy that Mexicans will cry racism in the United States when the United States of America enforces our immigration policies. It's funny. But Mexico has deported so many people in Mexico for coming into Mexico illegally, and you never hear Mexicans call Mexico racist for deporting people who came to Mexico illegally. You never hear them say that. They only cry racism in America when they can't cross our borders illegally. Right? Make sure that you guys bless the like button. It ain't nothing. It's your player partner, King Supreme. I appreciate you all. I'll be back with some more content, man. Make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel. And make sure that you guys subscribe, man, because my subscribers the subscribers are going up, man. Every day, the subscribers are going up. The viewers are going up. I appreciate you all. Peace, love, and blessings. Giving you game to keep you from stressing. It's King Supreme. Make sure that you support the game. And then, subscribe to the channel. And one more thing. When this live stream uploads to YouTube, make sure that you guys hype the video. Liking the video is very important, but also hyping the video is very important as well. Let's get 50 people. I'm going to say it again to you guys. Let's get 50 people to hype the video when it uploads to YouTube. So when you see this video uploads to YouTube and you decide to watch the replay of this live stream, make sure that you hype the video. That is very important. Peace to you all. I'll be back with some more content. I got to get up out of here, man.